During an episode of The Ticket and the Truth podcast, Hall of Famer Kevin Garnett slammed Ant-Man himself, Anthony Edwards, and all of the players in the modern era. In Garnett's eyes, today's players wouldn't have been able to play in his era. According to Kevin Garnett, the modern era player wouldn't be able to deal with the physicality of the past. He likened it to the physicality that they dealt with and struggled with during the 2024 Paris Olympics. Here's more of KG and what he had to say. Take a listen.
He didn't watch.
Man, Jordan, the only one has skill. Yeah, I know you didn't watch the game.
I know you
But
didn't
him saying
watch.
that.
Yeah,
so,
you can't say that.
You know what?
And then say
Respect
you
to the
don't
young
watch.
fella, man. I don't get on here, and we don't use this platform to douse anything, but I'm not going to start the cooning. I'm here to elevate the game. I'm here to help the young players elevate themselves. But it's always different eras. And when you hear Michael Jordan and some of the greats talk about the different eras of play, the 80s were different from the 70s, the 70s was different from the 60s, the 60s was different from the 50s. But in all of it, it had gamemanship, it had aggressiveness, and it had stuff that came with it that you didn't really hear about that you hear now. Nah, Lord, he feeling himself, and I like that. I like that he feels good. But when you're a savant and you're talking to the league and you spitting different shit, nah, you got to know what you're talking about to be in the argument or to be in the discussion of what we're talking about.
First things first, let me tell you what pissed me off. I shouldn't say pissed off, but I kind of felt a little pissed off at KG for this one thing. You ain't got to qualify how much love you got for the young brother and all this, and y'all podcast ain't here to hurt nobody. Yo, bro, you a Hall of Famer and a champion. The truth, Paul Pierce. You a Hall of Famer and a champion. I know you work at the other network. I don't give a damn. Mad respect for you and what you did on that basketball court, especially in crunch time. The truth, got right to say what the hell you want to say. Say what you want to say, as long as you ain't attacking the person. But you can attack what they said, and as long as you're doing that, you ain't got to qualify your comments. Let's get that out the way first. Secondly, I appreciate Kevin Garnett clapping back at Ant-Man because I certainly disagree with Ant-Man. Now, I will say this. Kevin Garnett was also quoted as saying that Ant-Man and these players couldn't play in the old era, 90s, 80s, things like that. That's not true. That's not true. Let's be more specific and let's understand what Kevin Garnett was saying. What you're saying is based on the way the game is played today. These cats who lean on today's rules and regulations to qualify their greatness, it would have been significantly tougher for you to be as great as you are now back in the day, playing with the rules and level of physicality that they allowed. Perfect example would be Steph Curry. Steph Curry came into the league with soft ankles. You might not have survived. They would have sat up there, they'd have untied your shoelaces, they'd have stepped on your foot, they'd have twisted your damn ankle, they'd have messed with you all day, every day. That's what they're talking about. All right? You know, when you sit up there, you can hit somebody's elbow like that when they shooting, they'd have done that all day to Steph Curry. Absolutely true. But because I believe he's the best shooter that God ever created, I think he would have adjusted. You can't tell me that a LeBron at 6'9", 260 couldn't deal with the physicality of the old days because he would have been hurting people because that's how powerful and that's how strong he is. You can't tell me Kobe couldn't have done with that. You can't tell me that Vince Carter, the greatest in-game dunk I've ever seen, couldn't have dealt with that. Can't tell me that. So I know that that's not what KG was trying to say, but I just want to qualify. Let me be very, very clear. Steph Curry could have played in the old era because you just don't teach shooting ability like that. Klay Thompson could have played in the old school era because you just don't teach shooting ability like that. LeBron James, any era. Russell Westbrook would have been a monster. Without having to rely on the three like that, Russell Westbrook would have been off the chain. James Harden would have danced on people. Kevin Durant, any era, he's 6'11" with a handle and a J. Jokic, with his ball handling ability, his passing ability, his shot making ability. Yes, if Bill Laimbeer could have been in the NBA, Jokic could have been in the NBA. Let's be very, very clear about that. So I'm just saying to all of y'all, you look at certain things and point to it what it is. There's a whole bunch of players that could have succeeded in today's era, in the old school, from today's era. But I also get where KG's coming from. KG like, yo, predecessors set the stage and the example for successors to follow. How you gonna be disrespectful? I know you said you hadn't watched us, you too young, you didn't see us, but if you're gonna say Michael Jordan was the only skilled player, Isaiah Thomas is one of the greatest skilled players in the history of the game. Charles Barkley was a monster. Akeem the Dream Olajuwon was sensational. One of the greatest big men of all time. Kevin Johnson for the Phoenix Suns was no joke. Gary Payton the Glove with his defensive prowess and his physicality. Sean Kemp, no joke. No joke. Mark Aguirre, Adrian Dantley. Look now, let's pay attention. Bernard King, a healthy Bernard King. You know what he would have done to some of these players? What are you talking about? I know that Dominique Wilkins didn't have that great of a handle, but he was the human highlight reel for a reason. What are you talking about? Some great Dennis Johnson, the late great Dennis Johnson. Kevin McHale, 15 feet, 10 feet and in. One of the most unstoppable forces we have ever seen in the history of basketball. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. What are you talking about? Can't say that. Can't say that. Can't do that. Can't think like that. No. Can't do that. Now, Ant-Man is special. And ladies and gentlemen, I see him coming. When I see Anthony Edwards, I see Michael Jordan. I see Vince Carter. I see Kobe. I see this potentially. Not there yet, potentially. I see this. Ant-Man is right on par with Steph Curry as my two favorite players in the NBA to watch today. He is box office. And Ant-Man is going to do so. Don't let Minnesota get him an additional scoring weapon. My God, don't let that happen. Because Minnesota's going to win a championship with Ant-Man. I love Ant-Man. But his statement, my brother, you're such a young whippersnapper. You just don't know. My condolences to you for what you do not know. Remember, Connie Hawkins is what gave Dr. J the creativity and the innovativeness that he ultimately exercised and took to another level. And Dr. J did that for Michael Jordan. And Michael Jordan did that for Vince Carter. And Vince Carter and Michael Jordan did that for Kobe Bryant. List goes on and on. When you see something to replicate and emulate, your creativity bursts from there. But I also understand why KG clapped back like that. You can't disrespect the errors like that. You can't do that. I remember when JJ Redick made noise and made news because he was arguing with Mad Dog Russo on my daytime job, First Take on ESPN, every weekday morning from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. And he was talking about firemen and other people that were playing back in the old days, and it came across as disrespectful to the Bob Cousy's and Jerry West of the world and others. Successors come from successful predecessors. You don't disrespect the errors, you show an appreciation for them because they showed you the way. When James A. Naismith created the game of basketball, you had people walking around dribbling with one hand. Then you learn to dribble with two. They had a set shot, then they learned a jump shot. They did layups, then they learned to dunk. It evolves, but it starts somewhere. And where it starts is what you never, ever fail to respect. And when you're young and you do that, it shows a flagrant lack of appreciation, which is why Magic Johnson said, yo, I really don't listen to anybody who hasn't won anything. And so even though we're going to see the greatness of Anthony Edwards, until he wins a championship, how much y'all want to make a bet that what we going to remember most is Magic Johnson saying, hey, I really don't listen to somebody who hasn't won a championship. He didn't win a championship in the NBA yet. He hasn't won in college. To my knowledge, I don't think he won in high school. That's what Magic Johnson said. Folks going to hold on to that quote. because Ant-Man said what he said. And now KG clapped back. That's a champion. That's the big ticket. That's a Hall of Famer. Sitting beside him is the Truth, who's also a Hall of Famer and a champion. Let's just call it what it is. Let's just call it what it is. By the way, as an aside, congratulations to Steph Curry for getting his new bag in a 1-year extension for over $62 million. He's earned over $500 million on the court in his career now. This is what they're saying. One of only 7 players in NBA history with at least 4 NBA championships and 2 league MVP awards, and now he's an Olympic gold medalist. I thought he should have been the MVP of the Olympics, by the way, even though he didn't show up until the last 2 games. He was that spectacular, but LeBron James was a model of consistency throughout the Olympic Games, so I can't poo-poo him getting the MVP award. But just so you know something about Steph Curry, one of only 4 players in league history with multiple NBA titles, multiple league MVPs, and multiple scoring titles, joining Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Michael Jordan, and Wilt Chamberlain. And last but not least, Steph Curry's career NBA ranks. Most in NBA history with 3-pointers made, 774 and counting. 3rd all time with a minimum of 2,500 attempts from 3-point range in terms of percentage at 42.6. Free throw percentage, he's number 1 all time in NBA history with 91% from the free throw line. And his true shooting percentage of 62.6%, which is basically an advanced statistic that measures a player's efficiency at shooting the ball. It's intended to more accurately calculate a player's shooting than field goal percentage, free throw percentage, and 3-point field goal percentage taken individually. Steph Curry's true shooting percentage is 62.6%, which is 6th all time. Major props and congratulations to the babyface assassin. Whatever he's getting paid, he deserves more. He's that valuable. He's that significant. He's that much of an incredible role model and a champion. He's that big time. He deserves even more. Here's the real question. Is Golden State gonna get anybody new to play with him and Draymond Green? And if they can't, why can't they? Is it because of Steve Kerr? I'm just asking. Especially after that Jason Tatum experience in the Olympics. I'm just asking. Something to think about.
Hello, fans. As we know, the debate over who is the greatest player in NBA history often comes down to 2 iconic names, Michael Jordan and LeBron James. This debate is particularly fascinating because LeBron James had the opportunity to play in 2 distinct eras of the NBA, which allowed many new generations of fans to watch his career instead of Jordan's. While Jordan shined in the 1980s and 1990s, LeBron is writing his legacy in the 2000s and 2010s, and now in 2020. The Hall of Fame recently used examples of players like Giannis Antetokounmpo and Dirk Nowitzki to illustrate why they chose Michael Jordan over LeBron James as the greatest player in history. The focus is on Jordan's resilience and fight to overcome adversity, something that the analysis says is essential to a lasting sports legacy. Going through that struggle is what really defines the sport. The struggle is part of the legacy. When the Detroit Pistons beat him in a row for 3 or 4 years, and he said, "No, I'm going to keep getting better. I'm going to keep getting better." That persistence is the difference in my opinion, the Hall of Famer said. That assessment underscores the difficulty and effort required to achieve greatness, highlighting the importance of perseverance. Charles Barkley, a respected voice in the GOAT, greatest of all time, debate, has argued powerfully about the journey Michael Jordan had to take to reach the top. Rather than being traded to another team or asking the front office for help, Jordan dedicated himself to self-improvement, overcoming playoff disappointments until he was successful. In contrast, LeBron James has always had at least one fellow All-Star by his side during his NBA Finals appearances. Although James led a starless Cleveland Cavaliers team to the finals in 2007, he has never again made a trip to the finals without a star-studded team by his side. Since then, James has racked up a string of impressive accomplishments, including winning multiple championships and breaking multiple records, solidifying his position as one of the greatest players in history. In 2016, James brought the Cavaliers their first NBA championship, a monumental feat that established him as the greatest player in franchise history. Even after achieving this significant feat, Charles Barkley was not entirely impressed with James' performance after the 2016 title win. The Cleveland Cavaliers gave him everything he wanted. They have the highest payroll in NBA history. He wanted J.R. Smith last summer, they paid him. He wanted Iman Shumpert, they brought Kyle Korver. He's the best player in the world. Does he want all the good players? Does he not want to compete? Barkley said. This criticism reflects a concern about James' constant need to build superstar teams to achieve success and whether it diminishes the authenticity of his accomplishments. Charles Oakley, a former New York Knicks star and close friend of Michael Jordan, has also weighed in on the debate over who is the better player. In a recent appearance on the Fadeaway Dunk podcast, Oakley had the opportunity to discuss his preference between Jordan and James. Despite his friendship with Jordan, Oakley chose LeBron James as his ideal teammate. He stressed the importance of leadership, role modeling, and longevity in the NBA. With 22 seasons under his belt and ranking 6th in total games played in league history, LeBron James is widely recognized for his durability and consistency. Who would I rather play with, LeBron or Mike? Oakley responded, I would say LeBron, but Mike is my best friend. Mike is not passing me the ball. He doesn't care if I get a shot today or tomorrow. Oakley also praised James for his inclusive approach and willingness to involve his teammates. Anyone who has a kid, watch LeBron, Oakley said. If you're open, he'll pass the ball to your kid. It's not like some guys who look at you and then shoot. They say LeBron's not the guy who wants to take the big shot, but it's not about taking the big shot if someone's checking you. They always say Mike would take the shot, LeBron would pass the shot. These observations highlight Oakley's take on the differences in playing style and leadership approach between Jordan and James. Now, we'd like to hear your thoughts on this never-ending debate. Leave your comments below and don't forget to subscribe for more updates. Thanks for following NBA News on TV.